Welcome to this parent information session on the topic of comprehension, developed and presented by the speech pathology team at Peel Language Development School. My name is Kristen Aird, one of the speech pathologists, and I will be sharing this information with you today. This video is designed for Peel Language Development School families. By now, you should have received a copy of your child's individual language plan, which outlines their individual goals in each of the areas of oral language. This is one of a series of videos that will be uploaded to support the areas of oral language that are included in your child's ILP. Today, this video will provide information on the oral language area of comprehension, and we will discuss ideas of how you can support your child's comprehension goals at home. This is an example of the comprehension page from the ILP. If you turn to this page of your child's ILP, you will be able to see their goals in the area of comprehension. The goals that are highlighted in yellow are current active goals that they are working on. The active goals may have an NG under them, meaning that this is a new goal that has been set. Active goals may also have a D for developing, which means that your child still requires some assistance to complete these tasks. Or they may have an E for emerging, meaning that they still require significant teacher support to complete the task. If there is a goal that has a C and has been highlighted in grey, this means that your child has consolidated that particular goal and has now moved on to new goals. When we talk about comprehension, we are referring to our ability to understand the meaning of what has been spoken and then in turn written. So first and foremost, this includes our listening skills, and often these are skills that do need to be taught and take a bit of practice. The most common goals that you will see on your child's ILP will be related to following instructions and answering questions. So for following instructions, you'll see the goals along the bottom of the comprehension page, and they increase in length and complexity as you go across. So when we're giving an instruction, we need to consider the number of steps that we are asking. So for example, brush your teeth is a much easier instruction than brush your teeth, put your PJs on and choose your book. And some good indicators that an instruction that we have given is too complex would be if we get a blank stare and no parts of the instruction are followed, or quite often what happens is only one part of the instruction will be followed. So usually the first part or the last part, the only part that they've remembered or the last thing that they've heard. So if this does happen, you can try repeating the instruction initially, just in case the child wasn't fully listening. But then you might need to break it down into those smaller steps, or even show them what to do using some gestures and pointing. Sometimes it might also be that we are using words that our child doesn't understand yet. So if I gave an instruction like, I want you to hang your dressing gown behind the door, but my child didn't know what behind means, then they may not be able to follow the instruction accurately. So the other goals look at understanding and answering questions, and we look at this in terms of the blank model of comprehension. So this is the way that the goals are set out on the ILP, and you will see that there are 4 levels of questioning that increase in difficulty. So level 1 questions really are about the here and now, things in front of us that we can see. So what is this called? Show me one like this. Point to, those sorts of questions. Right up to level 4, which really involve more inferencing and predicting skills and thinking beyond the here and now. So we might ask a question like, if we were supposed to have our sports carnival on Friday, but it rains, what might happen? So we have to use our inferencing skills there and perhaps draw on prior experience and knowledge as well. So the level or levels that your child is working on will be indicated on their ILP. This slide shows a copy of our blank questioning bookmark that you should have received in the same package as your child's ILP towards the end of term 1. So this is a really handy tool to use at home, especially when sharing books together. You can flip to the level of questions that your child is working on, and then you don't have to remember the different question types within that level. It's right there on the bookmark for you. So parents might have their bookmark sitting on their child's bookshelf or bedside table so that it's easy to find and use. And you can, of course, be using these questions at any time throughout the day. And this gets a bit easier once you become familiar with the types of questions your child is working on. And just remember, if a question is too difficult, you can try to simplify it. So perhaps you could offer them a choice. So your first question might be, can you see something in the picture that goes on the road and has 2 wheels? But then you could simplify that further by giving a choice. You might say, could it be the truck or the motorbike? This slide just shows a few more ideas of simple things that you can do at home to support your child's comprehension skills. So we just talked a little bit about book sharing using the blank questioning bookmark. Just remember to check your child's ILP for what level that they are working on. You can also, when you're sharing books, relate the story back to your own lives. So if you were reading a story about the zoo, for example, you could then talk about a time that you went to the zoo. And repetition of the same book can also really assist retention and comprehension. So on subsequent readings, your child might even be able to answer questions that they struggled with before, often because they have a better understanding of the story. The next point there is just a reminder to simplify our instructions if our children are having difficulty. So some things you can do initially is repeat the instruction just to check their attention, or try breaking it down and giving it one step at a time. Or you might even physically show them what you want them to do, and this gives them a model that they can then learn from. If your little one has some difficulty following daily routines, so for example getting ready in the morning or the bedtime routine in the evening, something really helpful to do is to use pictures, so you could use clip art, or photos of them doing the different steps. So for example, you might have a photo of your little one getting dressed, a photo of them making their bed, brushing their teeth, having breakfast, and then you can display those pictures on the fridge or somewhere, and your child can check in with them to make sure that they've completed all of those steps. This also really helps with their independence as well. There are some games that work on listening skills and following instructions. So things like Mr. Potato Head, where you can give and receive instructions, Simon Says, or barrier games. So the idea with barrier games is that they are played a bit like the board game Battleship. So 2 people would sit opposite each other with a barrier in between them, so you could use a box or a book, and then you give instructions to each other to follow. And the idea is that at the end, when you remove the barrier, both you and the child will have a similar result. So you could do this through completing a drawing together, or colouring in a picture, or for older students perhaps building some Lego, and then you get to compare at the end whether your designs or your construction is the same or not. And another really important is to encourage our kids to ask for help if they haven't understood. And that's a really important long-term goal for learning. This table just shows a few apps that are available to download from the App Store, and they may assist in targeting your child's comprehension goals. So as always, it's best if you can play the apps with your child. You're then there with them to help navigate through the app, and there as a support if needed. Thank you for watching this information video on the topic of comprehension. If you have any questions about the content of this video, please do make contact with either your child's teacher or a member of the speech pathology team at Pure Language Development School.